Welcome to my channel Adhyan with Flow. Let's start with our mechanism of hormone action. Before I start this mechanism, you have to clear two terms. What is ligand? What is ligand and what is receptor? What is ligand and what is receptor? Ligand, it may be any kind of molecule, it may be a protein, it may be a hormones, it may be a enzyme. This is what? This is a signaling molecule. This is the signaling molecule and acting like a inducer, acting like a inducer, induce something. And let's talk about receptor. What are receptor? They bind with ligand. That's it. They bind with their desired specific ligand. Specific ligand must be specific for their. So ligand release and reach to their target organ, and target organ already contain their specific receptor. So ligand bind with their receptor and give signal message to conduct their signaling. So this is introduction is clear. This introduction part is clear or not? That the ligand is the molecule. It may be protein, it may be hormone, it may be enzymes, anything. It may be a signaling molecule. It acting like a inducer, induce. And receptor, they are present on the target organs, and desire ligand come and bind with receptor. So receptor must be specific, and they bind with ligand and produce further signaling process. Now let's start with mechanism. Hormone produce their effect on a target tissue by binding of a specific protein called hormone receptor located in the target tissues only. If this term is clear, first important term, that hormone produce, yeah, we know that particular gland produce such hormone, and these hormone come with blood and reach all over the body. But they reach all of over the body, but only desire, only target tissue have their receptor, only target tissue have their receptors. So the hormone easily bind with their target receptor and produce binding and signaling. Is this term is clear? If insulin release from pancreas, assume if insulin excreted by pancreas beta cell, then it enter in blood vessels, and their function site is liver. Then insulin hormone always bind with their target tissue, liver, not testes, not ovary, not pituitary gland. This is this is insulin's destiny. This is insulin's target tissue. So insulin bind with liver's specific receptor and produce from their function. Like what insulin will do? This maintain hypoglycemic condition in blood. So they produce their function hypoglycemic. Understand, guys? This term is understand. This line understand. Next special property number second. Hormone receptor present on the cell membrane of target cells are called membrane bound receptor, and the receptor present inside the target cell are called intracellular receptor. So he want to say that there is two type of receptor. First is extracellular receptor. Extracellular receptor. What is the property of extracellular receptor? They are located outside. Of cell. This is the plasma membrane of cell. This is located outside of the cell. So ligand come and bind with this receptor. This is the ligand binding and promote their signaling, produce their function. And second is intracellular receptor. We can also call it as a nuclear receptor because they located inside the cell. This is the nucleus. This is the cell. So we can call it as a intracellular receptor and nuclear receptor. Look at here. This is we call it as a intracellular receptor and nuclear receptor. This second property is complete. Now let's start with third property. Binding of hormone to its receptor leads to the formation of hormone receptor complex. This is the receptor, guys. This is the receptor. And when ligand bind with their receptor, then this is called as a hormone receptor complex. Clear? Hormone receptor complex. Now third property is clear. Each receptor is specific to one hormone only. Hence receptor are specific. Fourth special property. This binding is very specific. Ligand very specific for their receptor, and receptor very specific for their ligand. Not unnecessary ligand can bind with receptor. Only specific receptor can bind. Now fifth point. Hormone receptor complex formation leads to certain biochemical changes in target tissue. Of course, they are binding. After then they promote their signaling. They work their function, do their function. Target tissue metabolism, and hence physiological functions are regulated by hormone. Of course, if hormone binds, then they do their function. If enzyme binds, then they do their function. Steroids are binds, then they do their function. Look at here, peptide hormone list. Important, guys, very important, extremely important. Select the amino acid derivatives hormones. You should choose epinephrine. If question is giving select what is the which one is the peptide hormone, then you have to learn insulin, glucagon, pituitary hormone, and hypothalamic hormones. These all hormones are made up with peptides, polypeptides, and proteins. Choose, pick the following of steroids: cortisol, testosterone, estradiol, progesterone. These are steroids hormone. Then what they do? Iodothyronine is thyroid hormone. Remember T3, T4, thyroxine hormone. Remember this thing? What they do? What they do? Hormone come as a form of ligand. Hormone come, bind with their desired specific receptor, make complex, and produce signaling, response, growth for body. Okay, is it clear, guys? Hormone which interact with membrane-bound receptor normally do not enter the target cell but generate secondary messengers. Look at here. Now next and very important point, ultra important. What he want to say that this is the cell. All right, this is the cell, and this is their receptor, and here is ligand. When ligand and receptor HRC, hormone receptor complex, occurring, then this ligand not enter in cell. No. This ligand is not entering in the cells. They do only signal. They provide only signal. They provide only signals. That's it. This binding provide signal that do your work. Then inside here lots of secondary messengers. This is the first messenger, primary messenger that take information, and here is inside the cell secondary messenger. They get their signal and start functioning. What is the name of secondary messenger? First is cyclic AMP or cyclic GMP, cyclic adenosine monophosphate, cyclic guanosine monophosphate. First secondary messenger. Then secondary IP3, and third is calcium. Calcium released from ER, endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum store lots of calcium. Store lots of calcium for working. So then ER release their calcium for messenger converting, messenger transport, circulate. Whenever required calcium ions, ER secrete their calcium because ER store calcium. So first messenger attach with receptor and they provide signaling. Then secondary messenger accept their signals and work and goes towards nucleus. And here is nucleus. They bind with DNA and start transcription, translation, and form protein. And this protein work in all over the body. Look at here. This is the diagrammatically representation of working of hormone mechanisms. This is the hormone. This is the hormone. They bind with their receptor and form hormone receptor complex. And this is the plasma membrane. This is the plasma membrane. Here receptor is located and ligand come and bind with their receptor and form HRC, hormone receptor complex. Assume this is a FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. What this hormone's function? What is the function of this hormone? Ovarian growth. So FSH come and bind with their receptor. Response first is complete and this signaling goes inward. This signal goes inward and captured by secondary messenger cyclic AMP, calcium, IP3. Anyone can bind with. These are secondary messengers. And they produce biochemical response and goes toward nucleus and bind with nucleus DNA and give physiological response like ovarian growth. Is it clear? Very clear. Here I'm writing here hormone. Hormone may be protein, okay, any kind of molecules, all right, steroids, amino group, any enzyme, they come and bind with their specific receptor. And what they do next, they provide signaling to secondary messenger. And what secondary messenger will do, secondary messenger transfer their signal to nucleus, and nucleus read and encode their message and do transcription, then translation, form protein, and that kind of protein do their function. This is the flow chart. Now next, wow, look at here, this is the intracellular. Okay, I told you before extracellular receptor and intracellular receptor. This is the diagram of intracellular, means intracellular or nuclear receptor. Here estrogen come, hormone come, it goes inside directly, no receptor, because they are lipid molecule, they are steroid, they are hydrophobic, they can easily cross plasma membrane, easily cross plasma membrane, because plasma membrane also hydrophobic. So both hydrophobic give the channel for this molecule. This enter in nucleus. Here is inside the nucleus, here hormone and receptor binding, and this binding goes towards DNA. Then DNA form transcription. Transcription product is mRNA. Then mRNA goes towards translation. The translation product is protein, and this protein goes and do physiological response like tissue growth. I repeat once again. Hydrophobic molecule cross the plasma membrane easily goes towards nuclear membrane, enter in DNA and make RNA, then RNA to protein, and protein do their function. DNA to RNA function, DNA to RNA formation is called it as a transcription. You may write in your exam. Examiner can ask RNA to protein function. This mechanism is called translation. Then protein is formed and protein do their function. So here is your last ending of this chapter. So this is your chapter chemical and coordination. If you like my channel, my lecture, my video, then please subscribe my channel Adhyan with Flow. Thank you guys and keep smiling and revise.